Hey everybody, I'm super excited for tonight's lunar alignment masterclass where you're going to learn about the 8 cycles of, or the 8 phases of the moon cycle and some key points, key things to do and some things not to do in each of the 8 phases. When you align with the cycle of the moon, right? When you align with the moon cycle, you're able to have so much more balance in your life by knowing when to lean into that hustle and knowing when to lean out and get into more of a flow of releasing and receiving. Okay, so there is a time for both, and you guys are all going to see in our class tonight. Guys, this is not super formal. So Leslie, thank you for being here live. If you have any questions at all through this, just hop on, ask a question. I'm sure if you have a question, somebody else probably has a very similar question. So, all right, goal for today is to look at the 8 phases of the moon cycle and their key components. We're also going to chat about the sun sign, moon sign, and rising sign. Each of us actually has 3 signs that make up who we are. And these signs are really interesting and really important for us to know about ourselves. And they can really help us to live a life that's more authentic, more true to who we are. We're going to learn the simplest way to align with the phases of the moon. The simplest way. This does not have to be complicated. There is a really, really simple way to start to develop your relationship with the moon and to start to understand and lean in to the different phases. And I'm also going to share with you the power of the collective and why doing this as a group can really help accelerate our progress and our results. So let's talk first about the 8 phases of the moon. But I want to pause for a quick second and I want to share with you a little bit about my story. Like, how did I get into this? Well, about, I don't know, eight months ago, maybe a year ago, I came across a podcast that mentioned this book here. Okay, Moonology by Yasmin Boland. Okay, and it was really interesting how this 8-figure business owner was saying that he does not make any decision in his business without consulting where the moon is in the phase, in the cycle, which phase the moon is in right now. And I thought, wait a second, that sounds so bizarre. How is that possible that somebody's consulting the lunar calendar to make, major business decisions? And so I bought the book and I started diving into it. And I immediately realized how overwhelming this could be from just looking at the book and, going through, and it's like keeping track of everything. And this, went into pretty great depth into a lot of things. And I didn't have a background, in moonology or astrology or anything like that. I was always interested in my daily horoscope and things like that. I always knew that I was Sagittarius sun sign. But beyond that, it was kind of a brand new thing for me. But I have been working as an EFT practitioner for a while, for a couple of years now. And I know the power of energy and how our energy affects everything around us. So clearly the moon, right? If she can affect the tides of the ocean, and, if hospitals hire extra nurses and doctors to work on a night of the full moon, right? There is something here. There is something here. So I just started to dive in. And as I was diving in, I kept thinking, I want to be able to make this content so much more accessible to everybody, because even though there's so much here, there's really, it's not like we have to know everything about this to see some major shifts in our life. And that's really why I'm so excited to share this with you today. So there are 8 phases of the moon. The first phase of the moon is the new moon. And this is really the most exciting part of the lunar cycle. At this part of the lunar cycle, right, if you look up in the sky, it kind of looks black. You don't really see the moon. You might notice, right? You may have noticed in the past when it's like really dark outside. That may be in the new moon phase. The new moon is the time of pure potential, where everything is possible, right? You have limitless opportunities and the world is at your beck and call. Like you can achieve anything you want. It is a time when energy is starting to really, really, really ramp up. And it's a great time for the hustle period of the new moon. So this is the time when you get really clear on your intentions. You plant the seeds of your new moon wishes or your intentions. You start to figure out, you start to plan on what you're going to do, right? So that you're working with aligned action, so that you work towards these intentions and these manifestations that you're creating. It's a time when you really tap into your dreams. And you really start to think about like, what do I want? Right? What do I really want in this life? And you have a blank slate, right? You can do anything you want. So this is a really, really important time to plan your time around setting those intentions, getting really, really clear, doing the work necessary to get really, really clear on those intentions. Like what specifically are you going to be working towards in the next 2 weeks? Because 2 weeks after the new moon, we have the full moon. But in between the new moon and the full moon, there's lots of other phases that will bring up and activate other things, different things for us. So right after the new moon, right, when the sky is dark, the moon is starting to grow, right? So the next phase, which is a couple days after the new moon, is the waxing crescent moon. And this is like the sliver in the sky, right? We're starting to see this sliver. And this is a time for us to revisit those intentions, to really look at those intentions, to explore them, to feel them, to visualize them. We may be starting to see them actualize and materialize, but a lot of times we're not yet, right? It's very soon after that new moon period. So having the courage and having the faith, tapping into that belief that anything is possible, that I can create anything I want because I'm a powerful creator and manifester, right? So it's really time to go back to your intentions. I actually like to keep my intentions in this little container. So you see that I have them in there. And after I set the intentions at the new moon, I'll stick them in there and then I'll revisit them throughout the 8 phases. So this is a time when I'd open that up and I would read them again and I would visualize them, really tap into that feeling. Then a couple days after the waxing crescent moon, we have the first quarter moon phase. And this is where, if you look up in the sky, it looks like there's a half moon, okay? Now, this is a time where self-doubt is sure to come creeping in and knocking at the door. So self-doubt, discouragement, frustration. This is a time when the sun and the moon are creating a square, a 90-degree angle. So there's a lot of tension in the astrology part. And a lot of times we start to feel that tension and self-doubt is the number one biggest killer of all of our dreams, right? When that doubt starts to creep in, then our work starts to reflect that and our energy becomes depleted. So it's really important throughout the cycle to be very aware of how you're managing your energy. And in a minute, you're going to learn about the sun sign, the moon sign, and the rising sign, and how those signs really give you a lot of guidance into how to restore your energy and into how to generate energy. And when you have a balance, right, of restoring your energy and generating your energy, you're able to then infuse your energy into everything you're doing to make these dreams come true, to support these intentions as they manifest. So then we move into the gibbous moon phase. So here you can see in the picture, we're getting closer and closer, right, to the full moon. And the gibbous moon phase, which is where we are right now, actually, we're in the gibbous moon phase right now. We have a full moon coming up this week towards the end of the week. This is where we may be starting to feel tired. We may be starting to feel like our stamina isn't as strong. When we first begin the new moon cycle, there is so much energy heating up. It is like a very exciting time in the moon cycle. Here, we may just be feeling a little bit like, oh man, and this is the time when you really want to make adjustments. You really want to look and see, what do you need to tweak? Revisit your intentions. It is totally okay. You can give yourself full permission at any time of the lunar cycle to, reflect and tweak, right? To tweak what's you wrote down that may not feel totally aligned with you anymore. At any time in the new moon cycle, you can always start something new. You're always supported in starting something new, in planting a new seed. Okay. In the full moon cycle, that's when we nurture what we've planted, right? And that's where we start to see the results. But here, you can make adjustments, you can make tweaks, you can hone the things that you're working on. And that's totally cool. And you can even let go, right, of things that don't feel aligned with you. And there's no guilt or regrets, right? It's out of alignment. You can let that go. So this is the time when you really need to tap in to that courage and that stamina and that faith, right? That belief. Yes, I can do this, right? I can do this. Ego, doubt, attachments, judgments, all these things might creep in around this time if you're not starting to see like actual results right now. But just know to keep going, right? Tap into that stamina and keep going. Now we hit the halfway point through the lunar cycle, which is the full moon phase. Now we have a full moon coming up this week, which is so exciting because it's also a lunar eclipse. But the full moon phase is where the energy is at the peak. Okay. The energy of the cycle is at its peak. And you may notice around this time, there's a lot of emotions coming up for you. You may notice that things just feel a little bit off, that things are just, it's an emotional time. This is also the time where a lot of things will just kind of fall away. It's a time of culmination. It is not a time to start anything new. So it's really important to keep track of the cycle, because if you want to start something new, plant that seed before you get to the full moon phase, because in the full moon phase, it's really a time of clearing your energetic system so you're able to receive. If you did all that work in the new moon cycle and you get to the full moon cycle and you're not slowing down and you're not checking in and you're not releasing and clearing up your the energetic system, chances are you're not going to see the results that are ready, that are waiting there for you. You're not going to be able to receive the guidance and the creativity and all the resources, right? The internal resources that are available and waiting for you. So full moon phase, really, really great time to pause, right? To let things fall away that are meant to fall away, to work on forgiveness. And I love to, in what I do for myself personally, and then in the groups that I lead, we forgive people, right? It could be ourselves or other people. We forgive beliefs. We forgive ideas or thoughts that we may have been holding on to. We forgive attachments or judgments or fear that we may have. Like forgive it all. It's one of the greatest gifts you could give to yourself. And it's also one of the greatest ways to clear up your energetic system. So then once we're in this full moon phase and we're focused on releasing and we're focusing on forgiveness, we're able to then open ourselves up for later on in the full moon cycle, in the waning part of the cycle, where the moon is starting to get smaller and smaller. We're able to then see those results. So there's a lot of nurturing that's happening in the full moon cycle, in the full moon phase, which is in the next few phases. We're in that full moon to new moon phase of the lunar cycle. So a few days after the full moon, you'll start to see, right, the moon is starting to get smaller and smaller and smaller. So remember, in the new moon phase or the waxing phase, we are, the moon is getting larger and larger in the sky, okay? And that's called the waxing portion of the cycle. In the full moon to new moon phase, right, the moon is starting to get smaller and smaller and smaller in the sky. And so at this point, a couple days after the full moon, it's a great time to relax, okay, to spend a little bit more time taking care of yourself. This is a great time to tap into your moon sign, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, and really allow your soul to replenish and restore. It's a great time to look at your intentions, right? To accept what is and to release any attachments or judgments, right? Or fear, resistance around anything. So it's a great time to accept. And it's a great time to regroup. Like, look at what is, look at what your intentions are, notice if there's any misalignment there, and regroup. You always, always, always have permission, full permission to reflect and regroup and tweak and hone, okay? You are never tied to an intention. So then we get to the third quarter phase, and we have a first quarter phase in the new moon to full moon cycle that I talked about a few minutes ago. And I mentioned that, you know, the sun and the moon are at a hard angle. So there's a lot of tension and a lot of resistance that may appear. Self-doubt tends to pop up quite a bit during the third quarter phase. So again, in the sky, it looks like a half moon, but it's the third quarter phase. And this is really a time to tap into trust, right? Really a time to tap into trust, looking at, okay, this is, you know, this is what is, trusting that everything is working out the way that it should be, nurturing yourself, taking care of yourself consistently, right, throughout this part of the cycle. Managing your energy is key. Managing your energy is key. This is the restorative part of the cycle. So this is where, you know, really tapping into your moon sign and doing everything you can to, to restore what your soul needs, to restore your energy. Really, really, really important. And again, reevaluate. So you'll see over and over again in the lunar cycle, there are chances for you to go back to your intentions and to take a look at what they are and tweak and hone, you know, whatever you want to do, so that you make sure that what you're working on creating is really truly what you want. Because as you know, right, when you focus on something and you're working towards something, it has to happen. It has to happen. As long as you are, you know, your energetic system is clear, as long as you're releasing, you know, the fear jar, right, with the attachments and the judgments and the resistance, right? As my mentor and coach Tyson says, right, this fear jar is something we have to visit on a regular basis. So look at all of these things in the third quarter phase and really make sure that you are working towards clearing out anything that could be potentially blocking you. So now we enter what I think is one of the most beautiful parts of the lunar cycle. This is the very last part of the 8 phases, and it's the balsamic phase. And this is where, you know, as you can imagine, the moon is slowly disappearing. The new moon is coming up in a few days after the balsamic moon. And this is a time of truly tapping into this surrender, where you really go deeper into the healing process, and you really look at what you need to let go of so that you can be fully present and fully aligned when you head into the next new moon cycle. So there's some really great, meditations. If you are a healer of any kind, pull out your emotional wellness toolkit, maybe a little bit more meditation, a little bit more Reiki, whatever you do. This is the time when you really, really, really want to use those tools, because in a few days, when that new moon comes, you want to be ready, right? You want to be ready to really dive into those intentions, be clear on what you want, to be focused on what you want to create, and then to have that energy to really move forward with that. Okay, any questions on the 8 phases before we hop into the signs, which is one of my favorite parts of this work?
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm not sure what it is. I guess it's like how long, or I guess the question is, are the time between each moon, is it always the same time between each phase?
That's a really great question. It's usually a couple days. Like, I think it's usually around 3.5, 4 days, but it's not really like, set in stone, but it's roughly just a few days in between each of those parts. So like 3 to 4 days, I think it is, where we have like the energy of that part of the moon, which is kind of neat, because like the new moon energy, it's not just a like 2 minutes, it's like the new moon appears in this part of the world at this time exactly, but we have that energy for a few days, and we have the full moon energy for a few days, so each part of the phase is a few days. Yeah, great question.
I like that feeling, like the sense of the energy, like the instigating energy and then it remaining. Is it in this, does it stay in that same intensity is my question, my other question. It's like, so you're in that phase for that many days now, but does that intensity shift, or is it usually the same for each little cycle?
Um, it probably does shift slightly, because like, so I use an app, which is, let me see. It's called Moon Phases. And it's a little black moon here. And it's called Moon Phases, and it's totally free. So it'll say like a percentage of, okay, so if we look at Thursday, so Thursday is technically a full moon day, 98%. So it gives you that percentage. And then if you look at Friday, the full moon is 99%. Okay. So then if you look at Saturday, the full moon is also 99%. So, I mean, it does shift slightly, but it's not, drastically. And then actually Sunday, the full moon is 96%. So we actually have a few days, Thursday through Sunday of this next full moon. So it does shift a little bit. That's a really great question. It does shift a little bit, but it's, yeah, there are, like, if you look online, you will be able to see the exact moment, like the exact minute, of the full moon or the new moon in your part of the world. And some people are really like, they'll wake up, at 1:22 a.m. to see, that. And, but you don't have to, you definitely don't have to. You will see so many results and benefit so much from just an overall awareness. And then actually I just looked at Monday. So Monday starts the waning gibbous part, and that's 92%. So that drops quite a bit, on Monday. And then Tuesday, 87%. So, but this is a really nice way to keep track and see, where the moon is, and kind of follow the cycle that way. But yeah, really, really great question. Cool. All right. So let's dive into the signs. This was one of the coolest things for me to learn about when I first started diving into this work, because I I just thought that there was a sun sign. Like I had no idea that there was a moon sign or a rising sign and what those signs meant, for me personally, and how those signs guided me in so many ways. So your sun sign is really a great way for you to connect with who you really, really are, like at your core, at the identity level. This is like your essence, the essence of your soul shows up in a lot of ways through your sun sign. So it's really important for you to be aware of your sun sign. Many people are, based on their birthday. It's pretty easy to find what your sun sign is, but it's really important for you to feed your sun sign, because when you're feeding your sun sign and you're living a life aligned with your sun sign, then you're really tapping into a life of more authenticity. And so, just a couple examples. My sun sign is Sagittarius. And I've always known that. I've always been curious about that. I've always noticed that, I was very different from everyone in my family, Capricorn and Aquarius. So I've always kind of thought, well, a lot of the things that I do and a lot of the things that I love was that Sagittarian side. So the Sagittarius energy in me is very free spirited, doesn't really like to have strong roots to anything. I love to be on the go. I love to be learning all different kinds of things. I'm certified in EFT and hypnotherapy and yoga. And like, there's so many passions that I have in the area of learning. I love expanding my mind. I love to just have fun and get out there and enjoy the outside. And this is very typical of the Sagittarian energy, right? Whereas, let's say, like an Aquarius sun sign, they may really feel at home, like their soul feels so aligned and inspired when they're doing something progressive for the good of humanity. Often it's very technology oriented. The Aquarian energy is very progressive in the technology space, but that's really an energy of wishes, like big dreams, social networks, friends, clubs, like parts, organizations that they belong to. They're very much into that friendship and that connection with friends and big wishes and doing progressive things. And it's an air sign, which also has some interesting elements too. But when I think about my daughter, who's in Aquarius, she's actually a double Aquarius, sun and moon, and my son, who's also a Sagittarius sun, like it's very different on how we generate our energy, right? My daughter is such a people person and she loves her friends more than anything in this world. So when she's connected with her friends and doing whatever she's doing with her friends, she's really much in her like feeding her sun type energy, connecting to her soul. And my son and I could be out, catching frogs or down for, going for a hike or playing outside or playing kickball or whatever. And that's like, we're feeding our sun with that fun. So understanding your sun sign is so important for you to connect with who you are at your core, your identity. If you also think about the sun, right? It's a very strong energy. There's a very masculine component here. And yeah, this is just a really, really important way for us to be living, true to who we are and feeding our sun. I love that term, feeding our sun. So now we have the moon sign. This was so interesting for me to learn, because for the sun sign, right, Sagittarius is a fire element. So I was really in tune to that side of me that, takes action and is very action oriented and likes to do things and likes to be out and about and on the go. But our moon sign really gives us guidance into how we replenish our soul, into how we restore our energy. Okay. Now, I had no idea what my moon sign was until I started this work. And it has been really transformative for me to understand my moon sign and how to connect with my emotional side. So, the moon sign also helps us see how we can connect with our emotions and how we can connect with our subconscious. So, personally, my moon sign is Taurus, which is an earth element. So when I connect with my emotional side, I'm typically doing something pretty earthy. It's also like productivity, doing something towards a goal is actually, which sounds kind of funny, but it can be very soothing for my soul. For the earth signs, for Taurus, and in particular Capricorn, Earth's um, moon signs, they can actually be restoring energy by working, right? It sounds super interesting, but it's true. Now, if somebody's moon sign is a Sagittarius, then working is probably not going to be the best way for them to replenish their energy. So maybe going for a hike, learning something new, doing something super fun. That can be very restorative for somebody who's Sagittarius, who's a lunar Sagittarian. So understanding your moon sign can be really, really important to helping you understand how to restore your energy. And if you could have a balance between restoring your energy and generating your energy, right? Restoring with the moon and generate with your sun sign, then you have this really, really nice balance. So for me, I had no clue there was any earthiness in me. I wasn't really the one who would do any yoga or things like that. I really didn't feel like I needed a lot of grounding type things because I am very present in my body anyway as a Sagittarian. So learning and understanding this Taurus side of me was such a game changer in helping me really use meditation in such a powerful way. So moon sign, super important, how we connect with our emotional side and how we connect with our subconscious. Okay, so here is a really fascinating thing, your rising sign. Now, your rising sign is kind of your social mask. This is how other people perceive you. And this is how you show up in the world, right? How other people perceive you. It is how your spirit has chosen to be projected in the world. Okay, really, really fascinating. So you project your emotional side through your moon sign. The world is colored by your light, your sun sign, and then the audience sees your rising sign. So let me give you a quick example of this because if you're brand new to this might be like, oh my gosh, what does this really mean? And there's so much that I'm still learning about the sun sign because this was very brand new for me too as I started to dive in. So for me personally, I knew my Sagittarian, but my sun sign was Sagittarius, right? The moon sign being Taurus was very different, but that's how we connect with our emotional side. That is how we connect with our subconscious, right? And then the rising sign, how others perceive you. So when I learned that my rising sign is Aries, which is another fire element, it is the first sign in the zodiac. So it is a like very bold new beginnings. It was so interesting to me because I have been told many times in my life that I'm too much, too passionate. I care too much. I'm too much to handle, too much energy, things like that. And I can never understand that because I'm just like, what? I just want to have fun. And like, I just want to, that Sagittarian side of me is like, let's go play, right? Like, how can people perceive me as being like too much? Like, it just didn't make any sense to me. But then learning that my rising sign is Aries made so much sense when I started connecting the dots between a lot of different experiences in my life. So your rising sign can also give you a lot of that guidance. Now, your rising sign, it also, like, to go deeper into the astrology part of it, it tells you, it actually is the first step in understanding how all the energies of the moon. So the moon has a different energy, a different vibe throughout the year. So your rising sign is what helps you understand how that energy of each new moon and full moon is affecting you personally. So it's really important. It's so important to understand your rising sign throughout the whole journey. I know this part may be like, a little bit overwhelming to think about if you're new to this. So Leslie, I'm just going to open up for any questions as we move on, and I will include a link in the replay to a resource where you can, it's totally free, but where you can find out your sun sign, moon sign, and rising sign. Okay, because this information is out there, easily accessible, and you can, fill it out and then, learn that. Do you have any questions?
No, that was really revealing. I love, now I'm really curious about those other things and how to apply them. I guess you're going to talk more about that, but just really, really cool. I mean, I've gotten my astrology read many times, but this is new for me.
Oh, okay.
So I feel like I'm going to be able to use this more for my own vacation, really directly apply it to my life. So I'm really grateful for the help and
Oh,
insight. Beautiful.
awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is. That's one thing that was really powerful for me because it finally gave me, so like as Sagittarius sun, like I really do go towards the fun anytime I can. It's like I want to go towards the fun. But structures and organization has been very challenging for me. If somebody's a Virgo, like a Virgo sun sign, like they will have the spreadsheets and the, color code, everything is like so organized, right? But that was not the case for me. So following the phases of the moon and really understanding my signs, that gave me the plan that I needed in order to use this work in my life on a daily basis. So, yeah, really, really awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, so the simplest way to align with the moon. So, we know in the full moon phase, right, which we're headed into, this is a time of rest, kicking your feet up a little bit and looking at those intentions and tweaking, honing, reflecting, contemplating, right? Journaling is a great thing to do more of during this full moon phase. And the new moon phase, right? That's a time of action. The simplest way to bring this into your life right now is to just be aware of if we're in the new moon to full moon phase, which is the waxing part of the cycle, which we are in right now. So the moon is getting a little bit bigger every couple days in the sky. So being aware if we're in that part of the phase, because this is the time of new beginnings, doing new things, planting seeds, right? Setting those intentions, getting clear on what you're creating and doing the action, right? So we're in that waxing part right now. And to be aware of when we're in the full moon phase, the full moon to new moon phase, which is where we're headed into later on this week. If all you did was keep track of that, so are we in the waxing cycle? Is the moon getting bigger? Okay, now it's time for me to work. And now it's time for me to get really clear on those intentions. Or are we in the full moon side where the moon is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, right? Energy is kind of like dwindling in a way. Dwindling probably isn't the right word, but it's changing in a way. So this is really the time of releasing and letting go. Also, nurturing yourself, nurturing the projects and the things that you put out there, the seeds that you planted. So understanding if you are in the waxing part of the cycle, the time of hustle, 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 or the waning part of the cycle where the moon's getting smaller and it's a time of being more intentional. If you just raise your awareness about those two things, you would see massive changes in your life. Massive changes in your life. Because the thing is, most people never, ever, ever take the time to reflect and tweak and hone what they're doing because they're so busy doing all the things, taking so much action. But is it even aligned action, right? Is it even the best things that are going to help you get to the results that you're looking for? So being aware of those two parts of the cycle, you don't have to look at, the 8 phases, but just looking at those two parts and being more intentional about what you're doing during those two parts. If you're a business owner, don't launch. Okay, the full moon period is not the time of launching new things. It's not the time of starting new things. A lot of people say it's even like not the time of getting haircut. They actually there's so many like things that people do during the different phases of the moon, but the full moon time is a time when things are kind of dying off. Things that aren't meant to be are dying off. The results of the things that you've been the seeds that you've been planting, over the previous 2 weeks during that new moon cycle, those seeds will start to develop. You'll start to see the results. You're opening yourself up to receiving. So it's not a time when you want to, put your head down and really charge forward with work, 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 work. The work is different during these two parts of the cycle. The work is different. In the full moon part where we're headed into in the next couple of days, that is the time of nurturing and then harvesting, right? Seeing those results take place. So just being aware of those two things. You could even write them in your calendar. You can, check in with yourself. You can really, just start to notice. And the other thing that I like to recommend to a lot of people who are kind of getting their foot wet with this is to go outside at night and see if you can see the moon, right? And start to kind of develop a relationship with the moon, because the moon has a specific energy or vibe. So right now we're in the new moon in Scorpio, but we're headed into the full moon in Taurus, and that's all, different things about that. But even every couple days, the moon also has a vibe. So there's a daily moon, and that lasts every like 2.5 to 3 days. So right now we have a daily moon in Aries, which I'm loving. I love the daily moon in Aries. I just feel like everything is on fire to do things. Everything is just working so, it feels so aligned and exciting for me. But you're going to notice that the different daily moons affect you in different ways as well. So there's so many ways to get involved in this work at a much, much, much deeper level. But all you need to do is just to start to develop a relationship with the moon. Go outside, look up in the sky. Every time I see the moon now, I'm just like in awe. I never noticed the moon before, and now I'm noticing the moon all the time. And every time I see it, it's just like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. Like, it's just so awesome to start to notice that and build that awareness and develop that relationship. So simplest way, are we in the full moon phase? The rest, relax a little bit more, contemplate, open yourself up to receive. You're going to start to see results, right? Or are we in the new moon phase, which is like, put your head down, get clear on those intentions and work. And the great thing is that your energy is so supported in each of these phases. So you really have such a beautiful opportunity to balance, right? To balance and to magnify your work and your play, your work and your rest. As I mentioned before, most of us, we just are always working. We're always in that go, 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 go. And where does that lead us? It leads us to feeling burned out and frustrated. And a lot of times we are manifesting so much that we're not aware of, that it's unintentionally kind of coming into our life, but we're creating it, right? We're just not consciously creating it. So one of the really awesome things about aligning with the moon cycle, and by following the phases and really aligning the rest and the hustle, is that you can consciously and deliberately create the things in your life instead of having life just happen, right? Life just happened to you. So how do we supercharge the process? So one of the things that I've noticed in working with the moon for quite a while now is that it is really hard to do this on your own, right? For you, like, things get busy, and even if people have the best of intentions on, following the daily moon or following the cycles or doing release work during the full moon phase and setting intentions during the new moon phase, it's really easy to put that work on the back burner because there's bigger things or higher priority things on your to-do list. But to really supercharge this process, what I have found is working with others, being part of a community of people who are doing the same work can really help to accelerate our progress. And also, more importantly, really stay plugged in to where the moon is and what that means for you. And also give those reminders along the way. Like, are you feeding your sun, right? Are you generating your energy? This internal energy that you have full control over, right? Are you generating this? And then are you focusing on your moon sign? And are you replenishing and restoring your energy? One of the things that was a huge eye opener for me with my moon sign being Taurus was that Taurus is actually a quite indulgent energy. Like, the Taurus energy likes material things and is very indulgent, which I never really felt like resonated with me. I was like, I don't wear like silk robes and take baths, regularly or anything like that. But there's so many ways that I am indulgent, actually, and I never realized that. But being intentional about tapping into like material indulgences and things like that can really help restore my energy. So thinking about, how do you do this? And also being reminded and being plugged in to the work is really important. Communities are amazing ways to help support us with that. So I have a group called Magnify that I'd love to share with you. And this is the group. This is the group that I was looking for when I first started this work, where people were just starting to really understand their signs, understand how the moon affects them personally, understanding how the phases of the moon can really shift energy within us and support us in so many different ways. So I created this group called Magnify, and in the group we talk about aligning with our signs as well as aligning with the phases of the moon. And in this group, we really focus on three different things. We focus on restoring our energy. So ways that we can tap into our lunar sign, our moon sign, to restore our energies, ways we can generate more energy and really magnify our personal power. And then how do we infuse our energy so that we can get out into the world with our purpose and really make a large impact. So these are the three pillars, the three things we really focus on in the group. And all of the work that we do is tied to these three principles. In the full moon, every full moon period, we look at restoring our energy with practices on releasing and reflecting and really a lot of healing work. In the new moon phase in the cycle, we're focusing a lot on generating energy. We're tapping into our sun signs, we're setting our intentions. We have this 90-minute process, this ceremony that we do each month to get really, really clear on our intentions, which is so important, so that we're consciously and deliberately creating. A few things that we do each month in the group is every month we have every member has a session specific to them where we go over the sun sign, moon sign, and rising sign so that they're very, very clear on what those signs mean for them specifically. We also look at something called houses, and the houses is I had an example here, and then I think I don't have that slide here for some reason. But the houses are a way for us to see exactly how the new moon is affecting us personally. So which area of our life is being activated by the new moon so that we can focus on that area, and which part of our life is being activated by the full moon so we can focus on what to release in that part of our life. So the moon affects each of us slightly differently based on our houses. So every month we have a planning session around every new moon so that we know, like, okay, what's coming up for me specifically, right? Every member knows exactly how the moon is affecting them, what area of their life it's activating. We have a new moon intention setting ceremony each month to get really, really clear on wishes and intentions so that, right, conscious and deliberate creation is what we're doing, right? Is we know exactly what to work on. And of course, with that, things materialize, we have results with so much more ease. Then we have, there's a new moon guide. So if you are excited about journaling or meditation, there are questions for every zodiac sign. So whatever the vibe is for each new moon, there's really specific questions that you can ask yourself in meditation or in journaling that are specific for those signs. That's something new that was just added to the group. Then for the full moon, right, we do have a planning session each month. It's just a 15-minute live in the Facebook group to see, okay, the full moon in Taurus is here. Let's look at your chart. Let's look at what area of your life is the Taurus activating for you, is the Taurus energy activating for you, so that people know exactly what's coming up for them and they know what to work on releasing in the full moon forgiveness and release ceremony, which is usually the next day. So this is about an hour and we work on forgiveness and release. And we look at, clearing our energetic system. So that's something that we do every single month. We also, something that I just added was some guided forgiveness and release meditation sessions. So that again, in that full moon period, so coming up this week, right? In this full moon phase, we are continuously plugged in to the healing process, to the release, to the letting go. Because in that work, we are opening ourselves up to be able to receive. If we're not doing the work, the forgiveness and the release work, receiving becomes so much more difficult. So we work on that each month. I also started something last month, which was so much fun, where we are doing a monthly connection deep dive call. So in these calls, it's very different from any call that I've ever done in any group. It's really where we look at connecting around a specific theme on a whole different level. So I follow something called appreciative inquiry through a group that I've been part of for a while now, Exchange. And Exchange is all about elevating human conversation. So choreographing, which I love that term, choreographing conversations so that people look at things with different perspectives and people heal and connect and really come together in very, very different ways. So each month in Magnify, we have a connection deep dive call using a lot of the principles that I'm so excited to learn about in the Exchange group that, that help us connect, that help us reflect on in a whole different way, in such a different way. So that's also something that is really exciting. So this group, so the founding member, this is a founding member offer. So the group is fairly new. It's about 2 months old. And I have a really, really special investment for today. Okay, so for today only, it's less than $1 a day, $27 a month for access to the group, the community, which is so awesome. We have such an amazing group of women in the community. The full moon release and forgiveness ceremony each month, the planning session for that, the new moon intention setting process, which is really, really, really awesome. Last month, it was open for everybody. So if you are interested in checking that out, I can send you a recording for that. But there was amazing feedback. We had an awesome group of ladies show up for that call, and it was a lot of fun. So the new moon ceremony, the new moon planning session, the new moon guide with journaling prompts for every single new moon, and the zodiac sign for all of those. We have lots of meditation calls that are being added in the full moon phase of the moon cycle. And this is for $27 a month or $200 for the year, which turns out to be $16 a month about. Now, I messed up on this price because I wanted to give everybody 2 months off or 2 months free if they signed up for the annual. And I used to teach math. For 10 years, I taught middle school math, and I messed this up, but it is a huge benefit to anybody who wants to hop on that. And I will totally honor that price. And one thing that I haven't done yet is added the link in here. Leslie, if you want to check it out, I will, and I'll include the link, of course, in the email. But yeah, so if you want to check it out, there's no contract. It is, it is a, if it's not for you, you could always, let me know, cancel your subscription, but it's a $27 a month. Now, this makes me so sad because 98% of people die with regrets that their dreams died with them. They would do anything to go back in time, to tap into their courage and make it happen. I see a typo in that slide. Sorry about that. But yeah, so many people, right, are living a life that's not aligned with who they are. They're not working on building their dreams. They're kind of stuck, right, in the day-to-day. And life will take us through, right? I mean, notice sometimes, I'm sure you've had those moments where you kind of like momentarily are jolted into reality and you're like, what was I doing, right? What just happened? And that could be a day, that could be a couple hours, that could be 20, 50 years. So when you're living a life that's aligned with the cycles of the moon, you are consciously and intentionally creating your life. And that's the magic of this, that I really believe there's so much magic in being so plugged in with what you want and being so aware of how your actions are helping you make your dreams come true. All right. So when you align with your unique energy, right? Your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, and when you're focusing on aligning with the phases of the moon, the lunar cycle, you have the opportunity to be connected to your dreams every single day, right? There were so many years when I had a dream journal, and I would look at it once a year, or I would look at it there was no pattern, there was no consistency, there was no real awareness of what I had even written in there, right? Every time I opened it up, I was kind of surprised, like, oh, I wrote this, But when we are aligned with the cycles of the moon, when we're intentionally creating our intentions, when we are consciously doing the work to get to where we want to go, our dreams are always right here, right? We're always working on them. And the chances of you, they have to come true. They have to come true if you are focused on them and doing the work to get you there. The opportunities they're just magnetic, right? Right to you. The people, the lessons, everything just comes to you as you're doing this work. It's really important to have that balance, right? To have that balance, it's setting the intentions, doing the work, and then releasing yourself energetically, cleaning your energetic system so that you can receive. So that's the magic of this work. So thank you all for joining me. Thank you to everybody who watched the replay. Magnify is open through tomorrow. I'll send a couple emails out with any information, with any reminders, but thank you to everybody who is doing the work, who's curious about this, because it's only going to support you in so many ways, so many different ways. You're just going to feel so much more aligned and inspired, and things will start to literally fall into your lap, right? The things that you need, the things that you are creating just start to come. They start to happen. So thank you. I will see you guys soon, and let me know if you have any questions.